They basically raided a warehouse and found a bunch of all these Panzer 38t parts and then basically made a motorized platform just to house a Pak 39 F48 cannon. But in War Thunder though, this thing is actually a nasty piece of work. Why didn't you shoot me like 10 seconds ago when I was killing your PvP friend? Hey guys, it's Jim here, and welcome back to another episode of Heroes and Generals vs War Thunder. And in today's episode, we are moving out of the line of medium tanks and going into the line of tank destroyers. And of course, first in line would be the Jagdpanzer 38t, or more commonly known as, not really the official nickname, as the Hetzer. And this thing is basically a motorized set of tracks made from Panzer 38t parts. And no, this is not a Panzer 38t where they cut off the top half and then replace it with this thing. Looking at you, Girls und Panzer. They basically raided a warehouse and found a bunch of all these Panzer 38t parts and then basically made a motorized platform just to house a Pak 39 F48 cannon. And as I suggested, it's actually more or less a throwaway vehicle. Like, everything about this thing screams budget, and once this thing takes damage or something, yeah, they're not bringing this thing back anytime soon. But in War Thunder though, this thing is actually a nasty piece of work, if you know what you're doing with it. Now let's break it down to you and I will show you why. Now first things first, armor. Now the good news is that at battle rating 4.3, unlike most Panzer 3, Panzer 4 that you come across, you have 60mm of armor. It may not be a stick, but you are sloped at 61 degrees, as you can see. So yes, this is actually a very protective upper front plate right here. And to put into perspective of how strong this thing is, Sherman 75, T-34 76, sometimes T-34 57, T-34 85, sometimes even the 3-inch gun on the M10 or the M6A1 can't even penetrate this at close range. And that's how strong this front plate actually is. Now something to keep in mind is that you are at battle rating 4.3, so that means even though most of the time you'll be facing other 4.0, 3.7 tanks, maybe the occasional 4.7 tanks, there may be a small chance of you going up as high as battle rating 5.3, and unfortunately you will come across tanks that do not give a shit about your armor. Including tanks that runs the 17 pounder, they can easily chew right through this. Now the good news is that I'm not too scared about them knocking out my gun breach anytime soon because of this. As you can see, 17mm curve at so many different areas as well as this thing right here, and then underneath this 60mm plate right here is another 40mm. Yeah, they're not getting through this anytime soon, so I'm not really concerned about that. But when you're facing your full front and the enemy, what I'm concerned about is this. 60mm of armor slope at 39 degrees, which isn't really a lot. And a lot of guns can definitely pass right through this, and if you're wondering, what about the transmission? Will it just eat the shell? The answer is yes, but sometimes no. Sometimes the shell will just penetrate right through this and score a Call of Duty triple kill. Oh baby, a triple. But in the event that your transmission just eats the shell, that's something you still need to be careful of because one, you are a turretless self-propelled gun, so yeah, getting your transmission knockout is more of a death sentence. At the same time, considering how light this thing is and how powerful the gun is, the gun's recoil is apparently strong enough to knock this thing backwards and towards the right. So that's something you need to keep in mind each time you fire your gun when your transmission is broken. And now normally I don't talk about the sights, but for this vehicle I'll make an exception for one main reason. You only have 20mm side armor, which isn't really a lot. 50 calibers can actually tear you out from the sides, as well as sometimes you might think, oh, if there are guns that can penetrate my upper front plate, I can just angle, right? If I can actually penetrate this with a somewhere like this, from the front like this, with the British 57mm from a Churchill Mark III, yeah, you know how big the sides actually are. Now another weak spot to be careful of when you're facing the enemy up front is this. And why? It's only a machine gun, why should I be worried? Well, here's the thing though, you don't exactly have roof armor like 8mm, 10mm. Any guns high explosive that can pen more than 10mm, they can just load high explosive and shoot this, and that's an easy overpressure kill right there. Now also mobility on this thing, well firstly, the reverse gear on this thing is actually not too bad, like 6.1 km an hour like this. There's also a reverse gear in this thing honestly, but it's really not too bad. As well as the other aspect, the engine power, it's kind of weak for lugging something that's a little bit heavier than it's meant for. So yeah, sure, you can go up to 42 kilometers an hour, but one is that it takes a while for you to build up to that speed, and two, you do have a narrow set of tracks, so going off-road is going to be a pain in the ass. And then moving on, the firepower on this thing, like I mentioned earlier on, this is the 75mm Pak 39 L48 cannon. Even though it says Pak 39, it's more or less the same firepower as every other Panzer IV that came before it. You know, Panzer IV-G, Panzer IV-J, the Sturmgeschütz 3 right here. And there's a 75mm Ghost. This is the shell that we'll be firing. Armor piercing cap ballistic cap shell that pens up to 145mm of armor at point blank, with 17 grams of explosive mass. That's right, doesn't matter if you get down tier or up tier, most of the tanks you come across don't exactly have armor to resist this thing. And the better part for you is that you do have the armor as well, so this is actually a very dangerous package all in one. Now you do have the APCR option, which can pen up to 182mm of armor with no explosive mass. But the unfortunate issue is that, as we all know, APCR don't exactly like to pen angles, as well as most of the time you just end up using the APC-BC shell. But if you want to bring some, be my guest, just be careful that the Hetzer isn't exactly known to carry that many shells. Now you do have an MG34 up here, which has a full 360-degree field of fire, but my advice is maybe bring a few high explosive just in case. And maybe like, I don't know, 1 or 2 smoke shells or whatever. That's up to you. And on the other aspects of the gun, you can carry up to around 41 rounds of ammunition. I just say bring all of them because 2 reasons. 1, you don't exactly have a lot of ammo in this thing. And 2, doesn't matter if you bring less or more, there's gonna be some shells up here, so doesn't really make a real difference. And then the reloading rate on this thing, I did manage to bump it down to 6.2 seconds using expert crew with maxed out leadership and maxed out weapon reloading, which is more or less on par with every other armored vehicle with the same gun. Despite the fact that the loader is actually technically on the wrong side of the gun. Not exactly sure how you managed to actually load the shell with this guy in the way. Now horizontal guidance, this is something you need to be careful of. Like I mentioned earlier on, if your transmission gets knocked out and then your gun just recoils you back and towards the right, yeah, your firing angle is very limited in this thing. So be very careful about this. Vertical guidance, -6 gun depression, which it's really not that great. I mean, it's 1 degree more than most Soviet tanks, but even so though, that's something you need to keep in mind. The good news is that at least when you compare it with other tanks like the Panzer IV, the Shermans or whatever, at least it does have a lower profile, so that does sort of compensate for a little bit lacking in gun depression, I guess. And finally, no gun stabilizer, but considering how I played this thing, it really didn't affect me too much. And so there you have it. This is the Jagdpanzer 38t, also known as the Hetzer. And how does this thing compare to the one in Heroes and Generals? Again, like the Panther G, there is no competition. Like, the Hetzer in Heroes and Generals is just terrible. The firepower is, it's okay, I guess. It's a tank destroyer, so stock shells does actually do some serious damage. As well as the machine gun, since you'll be shooting infantry as well, is very handy. But one thing unfortunate about this thing is that the armor isn't really working. Like, it says 60mm upper front plate right here, but unfortunately, Heroes and Generals, as far as I'm aware of, doesn't really have a slope or angled armor mechanics, so for one that's as polished as warthunder, I mean, like, if I can best this thing in my T28 1938, yeah, this T28 1938 with this gun, if I can best this thing in my T28 at long range, from the front, you know there's something wrong with the armor in Heroes and Generals. But anyway, that's enough beating the dead horse. Now let's take this thing on to battle, and let's just destroy everybody I look at, shall we? Back up into me, dude, don't back up into me. Ja, keep spraying. Get out of here, buddy. I don't like this. What's why you pushing a cap solo? That guy's coming for me, isn't he? I don't know, kid move armor. Literally sneeze on me and I die. Dude, why didn't you just move? Crud. The enemy doesn't know I'm here, they don't know. I am slowly kicking myself back each time I fire. Thanks for doing that.
Oh no! Not good!
Get the shit out of here, buddy. I'm dead, there's somebody behind me. Yep, it eases me. Oh, nice knowing you guys. Dem rock. Oh, there is somebody I do not want to see. Just shoot into the smoke, whatever. It's gonna hit somebody. No, stop with the panic smoke. We can't help you if you keep doing that. That is just nasty. I got you, homie. Stu, turn! Turn, you can one-shot him! Thank you! I died anyway. On them is Stu. All you had to do is look left. I hit the day tank, really? There we go. Yeah, screw you too, buddy.
Panzergranate geladen. Keep it up and victory will be ours. Allied forces have captured the zone. Kampfauftrag erfüllt.